there, my name is Hido and welcome to the Pantheon. It's October, you know, we've got some spooky things going on and one of the most horrifying and terrible cards ever created has been revealed. A small child named Mike. And he's a dungeon master, he likes his Dungeons and Dragons, he likes to make up stories for his friends so they can play through together. 3 mana for a 2/2 human. Pay 2 and tap, choose target creature card in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. Return it to the battlefield tap. So green-white reanimator, something we don't really see all that often. And then we're friends forever. You may have 2 commanders if both of them have friends forever. So this is the mechanic that goes across all of the Dungeons and Dragons. No, Stranger Things. He's playing Dungeons and Dragons, that's what's happening. Cards. So you can have 2 commanders, mix and match your colours. But in this video, I really wanted to focus on the green-white side because this is all about Mike. You know, he's a cool little guy. You know, he likes to reanimate things, bring them back, although they are tapped. You know, always has to be a downside when you've got white on your side, doesn't there? And it's quite a cool card all around. But without further ado, please do subscribe to this channel. I'm going to make videos like this for every single legendary creature going forward, and there's quite a few of them. So come along on the journey. Now, let's have a look at my top 5 for Mike. And in at number 5, well, what have we got? We've got some of the Friends Forever. And 11 is sort of the best one in my opinion. Not because she works flavorfully with our commander, but if you notice, Mike is green-white and then 11 is blue, black, red. So together, they encompass all forms of magic. You know, it's almost like they can take on the world together. I think they're boyfriend and girlfriend in the show. I think that's a thing. I can't remember, to be honest. But this card, while it doesn't mechanically work all that well with him, just the whole story side of it is fantastic. 4 mana, 3/5, your maximum hand size is 11. And whenever it attacks, draw a card and lose 1 life. Then if you have 11 or more cards in hand, you may cast an instant source spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. Now, if this was, you know, our commander with Mike, all those abilities just don't synergize. You know, they don't put cards into the graveyard. They don't bring things back. It's just for colours, really. And, you know, to have them sort of play and kiss and, you know, be romantic and stuff like that. Then here are a couple of cards if you're playing other colours that are great with Mike. Demon's Disciple, 3 mana, 3/1. Human Cleric, when it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. So this comes in, you sacrifice the Demon's Disciple to itself. Then, because it's died this turn, Mike can bring it back so all our opponents have to sacrifice another creature. And effects like this are just fantastic. Then we've got Dismissive Pyromancer, 2 mana, 2/2 human wizard. Pay a red, tap it, discard a card to draw a card. So a nice bit of rummaging there can get us through the deck. Really allows us to get those specific cards. And it fills up our graveyard. Maybe we're playing black as well and we're going to have a lot of mass reanimation. So this card is great. Then there's pay 3 and tap. Sacrifice it, deal 4 damage to target creature. And that will kill the majority of commanders we come up against. Because 4 toughness, you know, it's, you know, people like to play smaller commanders so they can get them out early. And this card just deals with them. And then we can also bring it back to the battlefield so we can carry on rummaging, carrying on dealing 4 to things. It's a great utility card. Then there's Glen, Elendra, Archmage. 4 mana, 2/2 with flying. And pay a blue and sacrifice it. Can't target non-creature spell. And it has persist, so it comes back with a -1/-1 counter on it. Then if you use it again, yes, it dies forever, but Mike can bring it back without the counter on it. We've got 2 more counter spells just sitting on the field. Our opponents will just weep uncontrollably. And that brings me on to number 4. And these are more cards in green and white that are great for the deck. And number 1 for this is Peacekeeper. 3 mana for a 1/1. During your upkeep, you may pay 2 mana or bury Peacekeeper. Creatures cannot attack, and that's a universal effect, so we can't attack, but neither can our opponents. So why is this good? Well, you play Peacekeeper out, get round the turn, no one hopefully can kill it. If they do, Mike can just reanimate it back. Oh, that's nice. But then we get to our upkeep, we don't pay the 2, and we destroy this creature. It goes to the graveyard, meaning we can attack. Then after combat, we can use Mike to bring it back, it's on the field, and then we go another turn, our opponents can't attack, and we just repeat this ad infinitum. Oh, look at me. I can speak fancy words. But this is a great combination for the deck. Peacekeeper is just a phenomenal card. Then there's Felidar Cub, 2 mana, 2/2. Sacrifice it, destroy target enchantment. So you can just control the board. Lots of big enchantments in Commander, especially the Mind Flayer, a brand new commander that I did a video a couple of days about. This could destroy the Mind Flayer, just whoosh, you're dead. Then there's Kami of the Last False Hope. Not the Last Hope, what a buffoon I am. 1 white for a 1/1, sacrifice it, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. An excellent fog on a creature. There is also Spore Frog, I believe. Does a very similar thing, but, you know, I like this version. It's a white, and the artwork is just phenomenal. And, you know, white doesn't get that much love, so having a great creature like this, you know, I just like to flex on it over the, you know, the probably better Toad that's in green. Then we've got Loxon Hierarch, 4 mana, 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, gain 4 life. Elephant. Need I say more? It's an elephant, for God's sake. Then you can pay a green and a white, sacrifice it, regenerate each creature you control. So if our opponents are just playing, you know, generic board wipes, not things like Damnation and Wrath of God, which stop regeneration, this is going to save our board. And it's also just a good little combat trick. We can swing in. We can be sure that our creatures aren't going to die. And if we do use this to, you know, regenerate our team, we can always get it back with Mike. And then that brings me on to number 3. And in number 3, well, all these things have gone to the graveyard. Let's maybe bring them back, shall we? With a Karmic Guide. And this is a fantastic creature because of Echo. Echo is a downside, but there's just so many ways that you can use it and make sure that it works for your benefit. 5 mana, 2/2 with flying and protection from black. Echo for 5 mana. So at the beginning of your upkeep, if this came under your control since the beginning of the last upkeep, sacrifice it unless you pay its echo cost. So you cast this for 5 mana or reanimate it back. Then in your upkeep, you have to, you know, sacrifice it unless you pay 5. But guess what? We might want this to die so that Mike can bring it back to reanimate something else. And that's why Echo is such a cool mechanic with this commander. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's doing its best Mike impression. Well, probably actually infinitely better. But it's just so good because of that self-sacrifice clause. It just works perfectly in the deck. Similarly, there's Resurrection, 4 mana for a sorcery, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's alright, isn't it? 4 mana for reanimation. I mean, you are playing white, it's hardly reanimate itself, you know, the 1 black sorcery that returns a creature to the battlefield. But you gotta take your wins where you can get them. Then there's Fungal Rebirth, which isn't exactly reanimate, but it's such a cool card for the deck. 3 mana for an instant, so playing at instant speed is great in this deck. You know, you can leave your activation of Mike up if something gets killed, or you can just use this. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. If a creature died this turn, create 2 1/1 green sapling creature tokens. So with all the self-sacrifice sort of shenanigans, we're probably going to get the saplings and return a key part of the deck to our hand. It also is permanent, so you could possibly get a land back, something like that, or a planeswalker. Then there's False Defeat, 4 mana sorcery, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's not exciting in any way, but it's cool because it's a white reanimation spell, and that's what this is all about. Then, similarly, there's Loyal Retainers. Royal Retainers? What? Huh? What's going on? 3 mana for a 1/1. Sacrifice it, return target legendary creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate this ability only during your turn before attackers are declared. That's fantastic for bringing back, oh, I don't know, an Elish Norn or something like that. And, you know, if you're in red and you've got all those rummaging effects, you can easily set up a great turn where you sacrifice this, bring back a massive legendary creature, and then also Mike can bring back this to maybe if it gets killed, bring it back again. There's a couple of different cycles you can go through there. Then Rally the Ancestors is amazing with all of the self-sacrifice sort of play that we're doing. Double white and X for an instant. Return each creature card with converted mana cost X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Exile those creatures at the beginning of the next upkeep. Exile Rally the Ancestors. Now, the fact that it says only at the beginning of the next upkeep is why this card is so good in the deck. What that means is when we reanimate these things, yes, if we go to the end of turn, and, you know, get to an next upkeep, they are going to go away. But if we sacrifice them before that, they go back to the graveyard, which means we could reanimate a bunch of different things, get all the different effects, sack, And then with Mike, because those creatures have died this turn, we could bring one of them back permanently. So this card is just absolutely wonderful for this deck. Then there's Marshal's Anthem, 4 mana for an enchantment with a multi-kicker for 2 mana. So for each time you pay 2 mana, you get an extra effect. And you can do it as many times as you want. Creature control get +1/+1 permanently because it's just an enchantment. And when it enters the battlefield, return X target creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the number of times Marshal's Anthem was kicked. This is fantastic for, similar situations for Rally the Ancestors. If we've got a ton of mana knocking around and we are in green, so we should have a lot of ramp, well, we can just keep kicking it and get all of our board state back to... I don't know, back to what? My mind fell into the gutter there. Then Sapphire Starter is an incredible card that's a self-sack reanimation creature. 2 mana for a 2/2 human scout. Sacrifice it. When target creature is put into a graveyard this turn, return that card to the battlefield. So this is fantastic with all of the self-sacrifice creatures. You proactively use Sapphire Starter to say, okay, this Felidar Cub, it's not going to go to the graveyard. It comes back, we can use it again. But then, with our commander, we can bring back Sapphire Starter herself. And she just comes flying onto the field and goes, oh, what's going on here? Come on, lads. Stop messing around. So that's brilliant. And it works phenomenally with Sun Titan. 6 mana for a 6/6 giant with vigilance. And when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may return target permanent card with mana values 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And I really focus on this 3 or less theme for the deck, because all of the cards we've seen, a lot of them, the self-sacrifice ones, come down below that, and so Sun Titan can just generate ridiculous amounts of mana. If you have a sacrifice outlet on the field, like Altar of Dementia, that, sacrifice a creature, mill someone for how much power they have, Sun Titan Sapphi are an infinite mill combo. Because you sacrifice Sapphi, target Sun Titan, so when Sun Titan dies, you're going to bring back, Sun Titan. Then you sacrifice it to the mill thing, mill someone for 6. Sun Titan comes back, triggers, brings back Sapphi, and then you just keep going and going and going and just mill someone out into oblivion. Can also make you infinite mana or infinite, whatever you want. This is a potentially 5-color deck, so you can just... any sacrifice outlet you want, you can play it. Then, the 3 or less theme, Savina's Reclamation. 3 mana for a sorcery, return target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. This spell was cast from a graveyard. You may copy the spell and you may choose new targets for that copy. Flashback for 5 mana. So, this card, yes, it's fantastic for getting back Sapphi and all of the sort of incidental creatures, but one of my favourite uses of this is with fetch lands and things like that, because this can ramp you. It gets back permanent. So if you've sacrificed a land to go get another land out of your library, this can bring back that land you sacrificed, then you can do it again. Oh, just so much value. I absolutely love it. Then, on a similar sort of axis, there's Angelic Renewal. 2 mana for an enchantment. Whenever a creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may sacrifice Angelic Renewal. If you do, return that card to the battlefield. So again, fantastic with those self-sacrifice things. And with Sun Titan can bring back Angelic Renewal. And you can do all sorts of crazy little combos. Then brought back is very, very similar to Savina's Reclamation. Double white for an instant, which is amazing. The fact that it's an instant is so good. You can just leave up those 2 white, someone board wipes, and then you just bring back your 2 best creatures. Choose up to 2 target permanent cards, so you can do the trick with lands that were put from a graveyard. Cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. Returns them to the battlefield tapped. So yes, okay, you can't sack the fetch land straight away, but who really cares? You're getting too much value. Then there's Cosmic Intervention, 3 mana for an instant. If a permanent you control would be put into a graveyard from the battlefield this turn, exile it instead. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. And that works with everything. So someone board wipes, well, you just get everything back. And, you trigger all the end of the battlefields, then you can sack them all again. And you can foretell this. So you put this down, face down for 2 mana, and it just sits there in exile, just sort of existing with an aura around it. If it starts glowing and everyone goes, oh, and then you can cast it for just 2 mana later on. So excellent for, any sort of board wipe situation. Then we've got a Verdant Catacombs here, and this is what I was talking about. Fetch lands, sacrifice these, get lands out of your deck, Amazing. Which brings me on to number 1, and this is very much, it keeps with a sort of self-sacrifice. It's 3 or less, but it leads us into a fun little deck idea, I think. And, you know, this card, you know, Mike, is a young child, and what do young children like? Dinosaurs! And Atzoken Seer is a 3-mana 2/3, and I just thought it'd be cool to have like a little dinosaur sort of theme to the deck. So this is a human druid that taps for 1 mana of any colour. Okay, that's pretty good. You know, you need to put mana dorks and mana rocks into the deck, so having, you know, making mana is good by itself. Then you can sacrifice it to return target dinosaur card from your graveyard to your hand, which, you know, Mike can then bring this back so we can get another dinosaur back, and it just leads to so many cool little things. And this card, you know, it's not the most powerful, but I love the little theme of it, and it just fits so well. Then here's a great dinosaur that you can sacrifice, Thrashing Brontodon. 3 mana for a 3/4 dinosaur, pay 1, sacrifice it, destroy a target artifact or enchantment. So this is exactly what you want. You can just disrupt your opponent's plans, and it works well. You can pay 2 with Mike to bring this back, do it again, or, you know, you can bring it back with the Seer. It's just a nice little card. Speaking of little cards, this is Colossal. Regal Behemoth is a 6 mana dinosaur. It's been errated to be a dinosaur with trample into 5/5. When it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. So you draw a card at your end step, and if someone deals combat damage to you, they get the monarch, and you can keep moving it about. Whenever you tap a land for mana while you're the monarch, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. So just doubles all of the mana that you can have. Ooh, that's fantastic. Then back to little tiny things here. Priest of Awakening Suns is a 1 mana 1/1. Beginning of your upkeep, you may reveal a dinosaur card from your hand if you do gain 2 life. I love this sort of effect. You can just sit there going, ooh, oh, Thrashing Brontodon's coming. Ooh. Are you scared? Well, yeah, you should be. That Sol Ring's looking pretty tasty right now. And then you can pay 5 and sacrifice it, search your library for a dinosaur card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. So just get any of the dinosaurs that we've talked about here, or maybe one of these, like Titanoth Rex. 9 mana for an 11/11 with trample. And cycling, the best mechanic ever printed, where you discard a card, or this card, to draw a card. And when you cycle it, put a trample counter on target creature you control. So that ability, you know, giving trample to something could be very vital if you're swinging in for potentially lethal damage. And sadly, our commander doesn't work with the cycling, but it's, you know, potentially something you could get back. You know, if you're spending 9 mana on a creature, you want to be able to get it back tapped to the battlefield. Then Mass Vandal is a 2 mana shapeshifter, 1/3 with Changeling. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard, which, you know, as we're playing a reanimated deck, we should have them there. If you do, exile target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. And it's a dinosaur, so you can get it back and, you know, do all that sort of fun stuff that I've been talking about. And speaking of dinosaurs, look at that horrible little dinosaur in the crib. Disgusting. 3 mana for Crib Swap. Shapeshifter, so it means it's and Changeling, so it's all creature types everywhere. Exile target creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 called Shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. So this is great to get back with the Azcanta Seer, you know, the removal spell for anything, you know, exiles, so even the, you know, Eldrazi Titans are no match for the little dinosaur instant. And those are my top 5 cards for this commander. I really, really like Mike. Like Mike? I think that's a film, isn't it? About playing basketball? About Mike Jordan? I don't know, it might be. I think it is. But if you like this video, please do like, comment, subscribe, and I'm going to make lots more. So I'll see you soon. Bye.